Yeah.
Well, okay. So interesting perspective when it comes to Microsoft and Apple, but
Mhm,
staying in the tech related world when it comes
mhm.
to inside moves that's being done, and a lot can be determined by inside moves. AMD, a company that we talk about a lot, um, they've seen the largest insider buyback since 2016, while Palantir insiders are cashing out big.
Mhm.
So, what do these inside moves really tell us about leadership and confidence?
I think that the meeting in Saudi Arabia was beneficial for sure. So I think business will be well over the next 3 or 4 years. And it's a pretty decent time to buy AMD. If you're looking to get some exposure and you don't want to deal with the volatility of Nvidia, like if they got in at 106 or to 108, and they're riding it up to 159, that's going to work out pretty well. I think the insider in Palantir is exiting because of how quickly it has risen. But I want to be clear. I don't think Palantir is going to fall apart. I don't know. People are calling for like a 40% correction in Palantir. And I'm like, well, if you look at the government contracts that they're receiving, I'm not seeing it. I'm not the biggest fan of Palantir, but if you look just at what is done on a price basis,
Yeah.
you can't argue with that company.
Yeah.
So if you have to take the emotions out of it, if he exited at 110 or 115, and let's say they held it from 35, that's a hell of an exit.
Yeah. I mean, when you see a company appreciate like Palantir has done, you're going to take profit, right?
You
Like the
have to.
CEOs, they're going to take profit. I
Mhm.
think one of those key factors is the government contracting. Like you said, I think last quarter they saw an increase actually of 13%, which
Yeah.
tells you like this is a sustainable model, right? The government is going to be paying the contracts for defense artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
It's there. The AMD situation, we are on the record for
Mhm.
sure, on the record. And I'd have to defend this company for a few months now, but I'm with you. I think Lisa Su, the CEO
It
of
helped a
AMD,
lot.
being in Saudi Arabia definitely helped. I think the pullback in some of the restrictions in China for GPUs, how that's
Yes.
affected NVIDIA, right, has actually maybe helped AMD, right?
AMD.
You saw now that Jensen is now creating a product specifically for China
Mhm.
that the price points are substantially lower, right? We're talking about between $5,000 to $12,000 for GPUs. Obviously, not the Blackwell product. I think they're going to be using a Hopper,
Yeah.
but still, they want to have some of that Chinese market, so they're going to create a product specifically for them. What that means is like, hey, there's a price point that there is a segment of the population that still wants to get it at a relatively cheaper, which is what AMD actually offers obviously from that side. But the CPU side, again, they took over number one and they've released new products. I think the next month will be very telling for AMD. They have their AI summit on June 12th, so circle that on your calendars to see what type of innovation that they will be leading to announce more partnerships. That Saudi one was a definitely a game changer, but I expect more. I'm starting to see analysts that ticket starting to move up. That target price is now going up to like 135,
Yeah.
which is a good sign. So yeah,
Do you
AMD we
think there
still
should be
fighting.
export controls on our CPU and GPU to China?
I'm not. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I understand it from a business standpoint of you need that market to have growth inside the company.
Yeah.
The other side from the government standpoint is, hey, if we put this technology in their hands, it's going to help them expedite that race in AI and potentially pass us.
Mhm.
Um, it's a tough call. It's
That's
a tough
tough.
call.
Rashad, what do
So,
you think?
well, I'll say this: outside of AMD, Palantir will be
Mhm.
okay. Palantir is gonna be fine.
Yeah, Palantir gonna be
Like,
fine.
For sure.
there's always a need for arms, and one thing that we can guarantee is that throughout human history, wars will continue to be fought.
Sure.
And so when you're talking about technology, I mean, you're talking about Anduril, but Palantir is definitely a major player when it comes to artificial intelligence and the new age wars that's being fought. They
Yeah.
obviously have political favor with Donald Trump. They're in they're in Saudi Arabia for a reason. Saudi Arabia wants a nuclear weapon. That's the reason why they're doing a variety of different things that Trump, because Saudi Arabia wasn't going to get a nuclear weapon under the Biden administration unless they fully recognized the Abraham Accord, which would have made them acknowledge Israel as a state. That was something that they couldn't really do. They didn't want to do that. But now Trump took that off the table. He said, allegedly, that acknowledging Israel as a state is not a deal breaker for the Abraham Accord as far as them being able to acquire a nuclear weapon. So Saudi Arabia definitely wants a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia gets a nuclear weapon, that's a game changer for already powerful country. They're this powerful without a nuclear weapon. To put it in perspective, countries like Pakistan has like 100 nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
And India has a bunch of nuclear weapons also.
Yeah.
So I say that to say Palantir, I think, is going to be fine. AMD for sure. But I will say this too. Whenever you see people start selling shares, Charlie Lee comes to mind. Legendary. Charlie Lee, the founder of Litecoin.
Mm-hmm.
Litecoin is a crypto that had a lot of attention in the crypto boom of 2017. Litecoin was one of the top 3 coins at one point. It was Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. And on December 20th of 2017, Charlie Lee announced that he sold or gave away to charity almost every single one of the Litecoins that he owned. At that particular moment in history, Litecoin was trading for $330. The next day, after he announced it, it went up to $375.
Mm-hmm.
It's currently trading at $95.
95?
One of the greatest exits in crypto history.
They're gonna take profit, like I said. They're gonna take profit.
Well, that's a little bit more than taking profit. That's abandoning the ship. So
what a huge bag.
And we're gonna talk about this charity scam one day. Where I'm giving all my money to charity.
But the key to that, there's a few key lessons here. He sold, when he announced that he sold all of his, because they actually said that he sold it a few weeks before. But the day that he announced he sold it, every single one, this is the founder that owned billions of it.
Mm-hmm.
He sold 99% of it, his whole portfolio. It was at 330. The next day it went to 375.
Mm.
That's an interesting case study in human psychology, because they pumped it up. People was bullish on the fact that he actually sold it. Why? I have no idea why.
Great.
He told you that he sold. So it hasn't never hit anywhere close to 375 ever since.
Mm-hmm.
It's at $95. 8 years later, it's at $95.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting case study in human psychology, that the leader of a company would sell every single thing that he owns, liquidates over $20 billion almost, and people would actually be greedy enough to continue to buy after that. Read the tea leaves.
For which company now? For AMD or Palantir? What are you saying?
In life.
I don't know. I'll tying it back to one of those two.
Sometimes in life, you just got to have life lessons. Market Monday, sometimes we just give life lessons.
Life gems.
No, because Alex Corp actually sold shares. That's why.
But he didn't sell 99%.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
It's different from hedging, but I'm just saying, life. This is bigger than stock. This is a life lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes in life, you got to read the tea leaves.
What does that mean for those who don't know?
The writing's on the wall,
mm-hmm.
and you have to be able to decode the message in real time when it's actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, we're in Africa for an extended period of time. We've told you this. This is a tea leaf that you should read.
Lipton.
Read the tea leaf.
Yep.
Hello, folks. Listen to this episode.
For sure. I'm trying international exposure. Ooh,
like,
boy.
I'm not just trying to pitch in Fest because I want to just, have people there. Read the tea leaf.
Read it.
Sometimes in life, you gotta say,
you gotta read the writing.
The writing's on the wall. You know what? Okay, I understand it now. As shout out to Lethal Shooter.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it. I understand it now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Every shot is a game-winning shot. Shot's a lethal shooter.
So,
Solid, bro. He was out here as well. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
lethal shooter is a real one. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
Read the tea leaves, ladies and gentlemen.
A great
And this
investment
is
will not always be on the table.
When it's time to bail, don't be the last one holding the bag.
Being on the Titanic singing. Don't do it.
It be sinking.
When Warren Buffett exited his portfolio 6 months ago, read the tea
Read
leaves.
the tea leaves.
When the U.S. Senate sells 60% of their portfolio 2 weeks before COVID and gets shut, read the tea leaves.
Yep. In 2022, when Bezos and Elon liquidated, read the tea leaves.
Elon,
Read the tea leaves.
Zuckerberg, name
All
them.
in the same week.
Yeah.
When on the inverse of that, when you see tremendous amounts of inflows from institutional buyers, when BlackRock starts to buy Bitcoin at an unprecedented level a few years ago, read the tea leaves.
Tea leaves.
They're not stupid.
Yeah.
They manage more money than anybody else in the world. If they're buying something at unprecedented levels, now when they start selling at unprecedented levels, then that would be a different conversation. But as of now, that hasn't happened. Read the tea leaves.
When I tell y'all a price, quit saying, yo, they never gonna hit that price. You're right, because one day we're gonna say, ain't no show. What is it?
Signing off.
Read
the tea leaves.
But Charlie Lee, legendary exit. That should be a case study one day for people to actually, man, what he did with that coin. Why would you want to buy something that the leader doesn't believe in?
That's a fact. That is a fact. Mistake.
I'm going.
Yep.
All right. Before we leave, let's talk about Google. Since you said that you actually got inspired by a recent move that they did. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. Google dropped a bomb and had the conference, and Gemini app has improved. You have Flow, which is their AI filmmaking tool, and VO3, which is amazing. Whisk Notebook LM. Ty was using that. He was telling me about it. And it's the tech version of 20v1. So like when Apple isn't innovating, they're not just trying to create a chatbot. They released a bunch of AI projects in combination, which is absolutely fantastic. I went through and used all of them. And I'm like, had they struck 6 months earlier, there would be no room for a lot of these other companies to talk. But I wanted to give Sundar tremendous credit for bouncing back at a time when a lot of people in tech had the same sentiment that they were not advancing or innovating fast enough. And I wished Apple would do the same thing that Google did, just put their heads down, hear the criticism, and say, no, okay, great. Not only am I going to give you one great technology tool, I'm going to bundle 5 or 6 of them together and let you pick how you want to have these integrate. The integration with Google Drive looks amazing. The integration with Gmail looks amazing. And that's the thing about criticism. I say it all the time. A complaint can turn into a cash flow for you if you execute the right way. And I want to give them full credit for bouncing back and executing this how they should.
Yeah, and we got to also give them credit. We talked about search last year declining for the first time ever.
Yeah,
we pulled up the numbers, man, and so the numbers are pretty impressive when you talk about monthly visits. The number one site for monthly visits is Google.com.
Yeah,
with over 82 billion monthly visits. Number 2 is YouTube, company owned by Google.
Great acquisition
with 28 billion. So you're talking about 100 billion monthly visits from a company. Number 3 is actually Facebook at 11 billion.
Yeah.
So think about the drastic difference in about
a lot of traffic.
That's a whole lot of traffic. ChatGPT is actually in the top, I think 5 or 6 at 5 billion. But they're only one of the only companies that had an increase in month-over-month traffic. Google was down about 3%, and YouTube was about down 2%. But 100 billion monthly visits is I mean, the amount of advertising dollars that probably runs through that is just, I mean, astronomical.
And if you think about it, even with Apple, not to belabor this point, they didn't acquire OpenAI, but if Zuckerberg had permission to do so and not had that block on Congress from acquiring things over a certain amount, he for surely would have. Because he was early on this integration of coin on social platform and AI. They just wouldn't let him execute it. Like, so I want to give him credit as well.
Yeah, people forgot about the Libra coin.
Yeah, it was a 2011, 2012,
Yeah,
something like that.
That was huge news. Like Libra coin was like huge news, and obviously it didn't pan out. But yeah, he was ahead of the curve thinking about how we're going to create a digital coin.
Yeah,
that's a fact.